Hello everybody and welcome back to Hearts of Iron, where I just had a little bit of an audio issue where my audio was much quieter than usual. I'm also on my new graphics card, so things should be a little bit smoother now. Fantastic. And I took the opportunity when I discovered the audio issue to just run the clock ahead a little bit and see what happens if we declare war on Uruguay. Turns out, and this is something that I definitely didn't anticipate, they joined the Comintern, which is slightly baffling. I don't know why they did that, but okay. We do need to wait for our troops to get into position to attack Uruguay, but that's actually perfect for us. I was very concerned about that. I do want to get another claim working on Chile. That is something that I did before I discovered the audio issue, so I definitely want to get that started. Excellent. Ooh, did I peek there? I'm not sure I did, actually. I think the audio is where it's supposed to be now. So that's wonderful. We will get into position here, and once we're in position, then we will also set our offensive line to be simply running to the coast. And we'll get started planning on that. We're already at war with the Comintern, so if they join the Comintern, I'm completely fine with this. Now, we may want to not go it alone for too much longer, in all honesty, but I think it's okay. We're just waiting on a few more divisions to get into position here. There's Excavation 4 finishing up. Fantastic. And I think that we are going to grab, at this point, we can grab both of these, but I think the fuel gain from refineries is currently more important. Excellent. And home defense is going to finish up in 2 days as well. We're going to declare this war quite soon, but I do want to wait for some of these divisions to get in position, and our logistics are pretty good for over here, honestly. So that's fine. Home defense has finished up, and we are going to work on naval mission efficiency. I'm actually going to grab ground support as well here. There we go. And we're going to need to move our airplanes. We're going to move them to this base. Fantastic. And there we go. They're going to work down here. Bulgarian reintegration campaign in the Balkans. The Bulgarian government has started a massive reintegration campaign in the occupied territories in the Balkans, encouraging Bulgarian settlement, changing the names of towns and places to the Bulgarian traditional forms, and reorganizing local administration along Bulgarian lines. With these measures, Boris III hopes to demonstrate the Bulgarian nature of these regions and legitimize their future annexation by Bulgaria. Bold move by the Bulgarians. A bold move indeed. Non-aggression pact from Peru. Now, they joined the Axis. And that's kind of a problem. I'm actually going to decline. I don't know that we actually want to join the Axis as long as Peru is in the Axis. We may want to just declare war on basically everyone, and have it be us versus the world. If we go out in a blaze of glory, so be it. Hungary has claimed overlordship over Slovakia. The Hungarians have raised claims that Slovakia should once more be a part of their nation, either as an integral part or as an autonomous region. An ultimatum to this effect has been issued, backed with the threat of force, and diplomats from several European nations are in a frenzy, trying to find a peaceful solution to this latest crisis. Let's hope they work it out peacefully. Indeed. The German Reich has rejected Hungarian demands. A diplomatic crisis has erupted between Germany and Hungary concerning the fate of Slovakia. Miklos Horthy had previously declared that Slovakia was a core interest of Hungary, owing to its historical ties with Hungary. His government expected to be consulted on any measure concerning Slovakia. German leader Adolf Hitler has refused to accept any such demands, calling them foolish and dangerous interference in the internal affairs of a sovereign nation. With tensions running high, more and more observers are wondering if Hungary might resort to violence to deliver a fait accompli. Stone-headed fools. Indeed. So we're going to declare this quite soon here. I think we're actually pretty much ready to declare this. We have more troops filtering in, but if they're going to join the Comintern, then I'm into it. Execute the plan. Yep, they joined the Comintern, as they did before. Shocking. I have no idea why they would join the Comintern when they're democratic. Soviet Union called Uruguay. That's fine. We don't necessarily care about that. And in we go! We are attacking Uruguay. Argentina and Chile are our next targets. I kind of want to attack Chile first, because that's going to be a much more narrow front. And I think that's beneficial for us, perhaps? Although, if they have few troops, it might not be beneficial for us. I don't know. Regardless, Uruguay is definitely collapsing, and we do require an additional unit of steel here, which is a little bit unfortunate, but that is a lot of our factories being used up. Where did all of our factories go? 28 of them are being used for consumer goods. Consumer goods factories 20%. Hang on a moment. With our current economic policy, the people expect 40%. Oh, because there's strikes. Right, we were dealing with that. Okay, yes. Yes, we have a method in place to deal with that. And here it is right here. Work has resumed in all previously affected factories. Fantastic. Industrial war is more than just divisions marching and planes bombing. It's more than just the duty of a soldier to fight and die for their country. An industrial war is won, first and foremost, in the factories and foundries. To abandon the battle on the assembly line is no better than abandoning it on the front line. And the victories of the assembly line should be celebrated just as much as the ones won by the front line. I added an extra if in there that didn't need to be there. All available propaganda resources have been rerouted to show the work of the armaments workers in the best possible light. Plino Salgado has personally approved a new award to be given out for workers who exceeded their quota by more than 100%, and the first recipients have been sent on tours around the country to instruct other workers in their methods. It appears that this has made a lot of the strikers reconsider their stance. Work has resumed in all the previously affected factories. Heroes 1 and all. Fantastic, plus 5% stability. Our stability is pretty low. That's for sure. We're going to need to work on that. And this actually succeeded. So, how can we work on our stability? Improved worker conditions? That would help. Oh, hello. Uruguay has capitulated. Fantastic. Plino Salgado has announced that the cowardly Uruguayan nation could no longer withstand the pressure from the overwhelming presence of Brazilian forces throughout the country. The Uruguayan government chose to flee the country and has gone into exile. Their main forces have capitulated, and integralist Brazil is now in control of their home area. Though the war against what remains of the Comintern continues elsewhere, this is a great victory for integralist Brazil. Indeed it is. And we are going to have these guys immediately relocate up to the Chilean border. And their goal is simply going to be an offensive line here. That is a really awkward looking offensive line, but that is nevertheless the goal. How long on our Argentinian justification? Still another roughly 330 days, so that's a while. And for Brazil, or rather for Chile, it's going to only be like 60 days. We do have an unassigned division here. They're infantry, so they, of course, go into the Coast Guard. Fantastic. There's another one. And another one. There we go. Perfect. And, of course, we need a new national focus. We did just finish a large navy. We're to go for cruiser effort next. So how much did we actually get in terms of factories down here? That is the question right now. 20? That's a lot of building slots. Wow, okay. That's amazing, in fact. Far more than I expected. So up here our compliance is growing, and that's wonderful. How are we doing on our manpower? We are up to 1.34 monthly growth in states. It's not great. Our manpower is kind of floundering right now, if I'm honest. However, these military factories are back to being constructed, and that is glorious. So, I mean, in terms of our infrastructure up here, it's actually going to be okay, looks like. I don't think we're going to have a problem with that. Hello, pause menu. I don't think we're going to have a problem with that, and I think Chile is... They're in the same democratic boat as Uruguay. I think that they are going to also join the Comintern, is my guess. And I think the reason that they're doing that is because we are at war with the Comintern. Which is just fascinating to me. Just fascinating. For Venezuela, I mean, they are fascist. We're going to want to definitely work on some of this up over this way, but Chile is our next target. Guaranteed. Another roughly 49 days until that is done. And we have 19 units in our Coast Guard now. However, we should add in this as part of the Coast Guard. That now means that we need 51 minimum divisions to defend this. Now, we do have another division of infantry to give them, but it's really not enough. Like, really not enough. I'm going to add another armored division in training. I know that we don't have the tank production to handle that. I'm also going to bring this up to 10 divisions of infantry and 5 divisions of armor. Yeah, that causes our manpower to just plummet, I'm aware. We are definitely going to want additional light tanks being produced. We'll probably want to bring that up to 10. Let's check how we're doing on our logistics. Everything is in the green, and that's wonderful to see. Absolutely wonderful. So we're just waiting on our justification here. And that is, of course, going to be another 41 days. Make that 40 days. So that is fine. We are still spamming out infantry equipment too. And fairly soon now, we're going to get our improved infantry equipment too. All of this will be after we get our justification, though. We're working on cruiser effort. That will also be after we get the justification. Now, we're not too concerned about all of this over here. We are indeed angered by Argentinian posturing. There's no doubt about that. We do want to bump up our stability. That is definitely something that we need to work on. And industrial land appropriation is nice, but that's kind of not what we need right now. We need to be at peace to do promises of peace. This is another infantry division. That will, of course, go into our Coast Guard. Fantastic. And this construction is proceeding nicely. Very nicely, in fact. How are we doing on our... Are we trading for any tungsten right now? We are. We should definitely back off on that. Okay. Anything else? I don't believe so. I believe everything else we need. Okay, our steel is still very limited, and that's not amazing. If we look at our resource map mode, then we can see that we are getting a little bit of steel out of these regions, but because it's not core, that doesn't help. For sure. And we'll work on that over time. I do want to... I think that we'll leave these guys where they're at, these airplanes here. The Argentinian border is going to be tougher for us. I think there's no doubt about that. Industrial land appropriation would be really nice, except for that base stability reduction that I'm not okay with. So I think we're saving up our political power right now for improved worker conditions. And yeah, that factory output reduction will hurt. But as it says in the tooltip, the long-term benefits are worth it. Excellent. So how long on this justification? Another 22 days. Okay. That's fine. It shouldn't be too bad, all things considered. And we do need a lot more military factories for light tanks. Now, our production efficiency is coming up on those as well. And you can see here... Even with our increased training, actually it might not be taking that into account, but even with our increased training, we are in the green on light tanks, and hopefully that remains the case. But I definitely want to get some more light tank brigades, and we're going to need to edit this pretty quick here. I mean, I'd really... let's reset that. Japan is demanding French Indochina. Okay. I'd really like to get some heavy tanks in this, but of course we don't have heavy tanks, so that's not going to be a thing. These infantry divisions are going nicely, though. We've really ramped up our recruitment, and we probably can't keep this up for too long. all things considered. I don't think that's going to be a thing. We're going to need to bump up our conscription eventually. That's to be expected, of course. We are currently short on additional steel, so we'll get more from the United States. I don't like it, but it's what we'll do. More steel. We need to get some of our own steel, of course, and we do have some. Increasing our steel up here would be nice, as well as over here. I mean, how many total is there here? That's not what I want. I want to be looking at how many total steel there is here. Is this all in the state? Perhaps. Increasing infrastructure over here will, of course, help. And that is something that we should definitely think about doing. I also want to put in a military factory over here. Actually, this one would need to be a civilian factory because of our current trade. So we would do something like that. And then, of course, we'd need infrastructure in the locations that we conquered. Like that. It'll take time for all that to get done. There's no doubt about it. And that's probably a higher priority than some of this stuff, but we'll move it up later. Chile's justification is going to be done in just 3 days at this point. So that's wonderful. We have grabbed some land here. We need a whole lot more. A whole lot more. Our armies are still a bit on the small side, if you ask me, which is why we're recruiting so very heavily. We need a lot more tanks. Justification of conquering Chile has finished, and that's wonderful. We're going to immediately declare war on them, and we are going to expect them to join the Comintern. If they join the Allies, we're going to be really sad. Yes, they joined the Comintern. Perfect. So we're going to fight them on a fairly narrow front here, and it's going to be through quite a lot of mountains. Like, I'm not expecting this to be a super easy fight. But we will push our way through. It's only a matter of time. They cannot resist us. Excellent. Now, what are we currently at? We are consuming 241 fuel per day, and we're gaining... Yeah, we'll be out of fuel in a long time. So it's definitely a good thing that we are working on our oil processing. That'll be done in 4 days, and once that's done, we should definitely... Yeah, the Soviet Union called in Chile. That's expected. But once we're done with that, we should definitely be positive in our fuel, which is just great. I'm really happy to see that. Technically, this doesn't need to be a civilian factory, but we could convert that later if necessary. Or we could just figure that we're going to need additional steel, which we are. We're definitely going to need additional steel. There's no doubt about that. Oil processing has finished up. That means that we are, of course, positive in our fuel now. And I would love to get another concentrated industry, another construction. We're ahead of time on these, though. And so instead, I think that we are going to grab better radar, perhaps. Or maybe infantry anti-tank 1. Yes, I think we should grab this or support weapons. I think we're going to grab support weapons 4 first. We're still very heavily reliant on our infantry right now, so that is definitely noted. We're going to need a capital ship effort. There we go. And it'll be 15 days for our improved infantry equipment too. That will also be awesome. How are we doing over here? Looks like these guys are in retreat. Perfect. So we're going to continue down this coast. This is not going to be the easiest of wars, but they should capitulate relatively soon, especially if we start pocketing them in situations like this. Which would be great to see if that happens. Okay, yeah, this is fine. This is very, very good. Now, Argentina. That's going to be a long front. That's going to be a really long front. We may have to have these guys area defense up here and attack along the Chilean front. That may end up being necessary. More strikes? Come on, guys. We'll make propaganda heroes out of the people still willing to work, but we need people to stop striking. I think that's happening because our stability is kind of low, but That doesn't help our stability, if I'm honest. That doesn't help our stability at all. So this is now pocketed. And we're moving around. Looks like they're heading over this way. Maybe supporting an attack. I feel like we should probably be going in here. They're pocketed, after all. So let's just clean them up. Fantastic. No worries there. That'll stack wipe some amount. We don't have good intel, but some amount of enemies. That'll stack wipe. And it did indeed. Excellent. So we're going to proceed in here. Of course, our light tank brigade is at the front line here. They're kind of lacking in light tanks, of course, but improved infantry equipment has finished up, so that will be a big boon for us. We're also going to take infantry anti-tank 1 before we research weapons 3. But weapons 3 will probably be the next thing that we research. And yeah, you can see here Chile is definitely in full collapse. Now, we're still going to have potentially a bit of problems here as we continue to try to push down through the Andes. Which is definitely going to be interesting. That said, those worker strikes, they don't help. They do not help in the slightest. While we're striking, you can see here we're negative on a lot of equipment. That said, our light tank production cap is still on its way up. So that's good to know, but we're losing a lot of factories right now. We're losing a whole lot of factories. And this delayed our political power, which isn't helpful. Resistance to occupation over here isn't shocking. And we can't really increase this because we need to work on our intelligence agency here. I do want to think about perhaps operative training. What do we actually need here? What we actually need is anti-partisan. So we're going to get that started. Yes, that will use up factories. Germany is asking us to join the Axis. I'm still going to decline. I'm not committed to joining the Axis here. We might actually want, especially if the US starts winning against the Axis, we might want to attack the Axis ourselves in attacking Peru. That's kind of what I'm thinking right now. Well, we're continuing to advance down the Chilean coast. Liberia has joined the Allies. This is not a shock. And yeah, I'm currently thinking that we increase the area defense here to include those areas. That does mean it's a minimum number of divisions of 54. Which isn't tremendously helpful, to be clear. We need a whole lot more infantry, but we're going to get that soon. As far as our tanks go, I mean, we're not producing that many tanks, but it's mostly because of these strikes. It's mostly because of these strikes. I'm not too concerned about our current war support. I'm more concerned about our stability. And I think increasing our stability, if we can get the 100 political power, is going to be worth the 10% reduction in goods output. But we need to address this strike crisis. There's no doubt about that, and it should be addressed soon. Iceland has joined the Axis because the UK declared war on Iceland. Well, that's interesting. Okay, I don't really know what to say about that one. That's a weird one, no doubt about it. No doubt about that one. Very, very strange. Well, we are definitely winning this war. It's not the speediest. We knew that would be the case. We definitely knew that would be the case, and we're hoping that these strikes are going to end soon. Because our constructing factories are starting to look pretty slim. Pretty slim indeed. Luckily, our production efficiency is continuing to rise for our light tanks. And that's great. We're mostly only wanting to use those Iceland has joined Italy as our ally in the Italian-Soviet War. Okay. Sure. Whatever. That's interesting, to be sure. But we're going to continue to push Chile back here, and we should have no problem taking this over eventually. It's going to take some time, and that time is okay, because we are, of course, recruiting up 10 divisions simultaneously. And that's wonderful. Now, you can see here that our manpower is definitely dropping, and there's no doubt about that. We're going to probably have to chill here fairly soon, but once we have a continent under our control, it should be completely fine. It is, however, time to put a cut in here, so I'm going to go ahead and do that, and next episode, we are going to conclude our conquest of Chile. You can leave your offerings to the engagement gods in the form of likes, comments, subscribes, and bell ringings, and I will see you all next time.